My plan is to hide, to avoid, but if I get busted, if I get captured, I'm not going to do a Rambo, I'm going to do a Gandhi. If I get captured, I'm not going to do a Rambo, I'm going to do a Gandhi. If I get captured, I'm not going to do a Rambo, I'm going to do a Gandhi.
All right, I'm not going to do a Rambo, I'm going to do a Gandhi. That's his address. I pray you write him a letter, let him know that you care about him and that we want him out of prison. Hold the government accountable for the wickedness they've done as well. That's what I want. I want to give God the glory through all of this. I believe that God is working a mighty miracle to get Schaeffer Cox out of prison. This article here, the U.S. Observer has put out 2 articles. Don't forget that in one of the U.S. Observer articles, there is a letter that appears to be written by Marty Cox. And it retracts the domestic abuse situation. I've mailed a copy of this off to Schaeffer asking for its authenticity. There's 2 articles that have been put up on U.S. Observer. This one is by Kelly Stone. It's called Federal Setup, The Conspiracy to Entrap Schaeffer Cox. I mailed a copy of this a long time ago to Schaeffer, and I asked him for his feedback on this article. Okay, he sent me this, but when it first arrived, it was so ineligible that I couldn't read it. And I don't even know if I attempted to read it. But he's just, for some reason, it took forever to get back to me. And we're going to read it. And this says, Schaeffer's take on the online U.S. Observer, June 2016. That's over a year ago. So, in order for Schaeffer's letter to make sense, you got to go back and read this. Make sure you get the right one because there's 2 U.S. Observer articles. This is the one written by Kelly Stone, and it's got this title here. Federal Setup, The Conspiracy to Entrap Schaeffer Cox. But let's read what Schaeffer has to say about this article. It's still a little bit hard to read, but I think I can make my way through it. The outrageous claims referenced here were not claims by me. Aaron Bennett had showed up and claimed to have all these men and weapons and pledged that they were at my disposal. I simply repeated what he'd told me. That's how the FBI knew it was fictitious. They recognized it as their own fiction coming back to them. Then they used this, their own investigative feedback loop, to get warrants. Read the 2/16 February 10th FBI memo by Bruce W. Milne carefully. It says Cox claims to be involved with a significant militia group. That was Bennett's group. Talking about Aaron Bennett. The memo never actually accuses me of harming or doing anything, only of being involved with Bennett, who they'd what's that word? Hold on. Tasked. Who they'd tasked with involving himself with me by donating, supporting, and attending everything I did. Okay, page 2. Oh, wait. Okay, number 2 down here. This is wrong. I was taking notes and observing as cops broke in to a home without a warrant after the owner told them not to. The cop arrested me to take my notes away. I did tell him about the little .380 in my pocket, and when I asked him why I was being arrested, he said, I don't know. I've got to go look up some laws. That's absolutely true. We have that on the audio, actually. Number 3, the supposed justification to come take Seth was that the cops saw Facebook pictures of an unsafe home, so they are acting on their own complaint. That's made up BS and came a week after I publicly came out against their drug trafficking. Number 4, You need to point out here that the cops were using their own threats against my children to try to panic me into taking Fulton up on his ultimatum, and that we attack the governments, and I refused. Number 5, this should read non-biased third-party psychiatrist to give to OCS. Number 6, point out that after Robert John got OCS to follow their policy, they found that the complaint was baseless. Number 7, this would be a good place to put the audio of Agent Westerhouse telling Fulton, "We're going after Schaeffer Cox because he's talking smack about the government." Have you found that? I just recently found that and uploaded that, so I did find that. You just look up smack and you'll find it on my channel, SMAK, Talking Smack. SMACK, sorry. Page 3, number 8. Here's that Aaron Bennett feedback loop happening again, with the 8 grenades rumor pointed out. Number 9, Menino tried to get me to do violent stuff early on. I told him no. If he was an informant, and you can prove it, that's Brady violation right there. I could get out on that just as easy as on the Bennett Brady violations. Number 10, why don't you put the pressure on Bennett and admit his role? Why don't you put your pressure? Is it your? Hold on. The pressure. Sorry, it's the. Why don't you put the? Why was I saying your? Why don't you put the pressure on Bennett to admit his role in trying to get me to do their violent crimes? What's that next word? How it never worked. How we decided I just wasn't going to do it ever, and how he quit trying. He could come out and say, yeah, the feds wanted me to investigate Schaeffer Cox. I found he was not a danger, and I told my handlers this, so they got Olson and Fulton to lie about it. If he did that, it would show a blatant Brady violation, and I'd walk. Number 11, if there is any exculpatory evidence, or really any evidence at all, related to Fulton, Agent Klein, and Blondie's incident that they ran, it's Brady material. They still have it, and they still have a duty by law to hand it over. Not calling Fulton does not exempt them from this duty. Number 12, this is wrong. Fulton did give the Pikes recording to his handlers. They took it and kept it for over a year. When Rolyport demanded it, rather than give it to us like the law requires, they gave it back to Fulton and told him to destroy it. This is a double criminal, because not only are they not... Let me look up that. What is that word? Handing. This is double criminal, because not only are they not handing over exculpatory evidence, now they are destroying it. They admit it. They admit a willful due process violation. Wow. Number 13. You need to find the audios from February 1st, 2nd, 3rd, or 4th, just before Lonnie and Olson went to Anchorage together to attend the Malicious Summit. I'm still looking for that. Put on by the FBI at the Millennium Hotel. They stopped by my house, and I explained to them that Bennett and Fulton are bad news and to stay away from them. Then I tell about Pike's Landing and how Fulton was drunk, said all this crazy stuff the next day about serving warrants, but that me, Les, and Jeremy Baker didn't remember any of that at all. You should also contact Jeremy Baker and get a statement about this meeting at Pike's. Gonna have to write some action items down. Jeremy Baker. Anybody know how to get a hold of Jeremy Baker? Please let me know. Jeremy Baker, Pike's Landing. Maybe Brian Christie or Frank Turney know how to get a hold of him. And then a meeting prior. I'll call it the February 4th audio. Stay away from Fulton. That was what Fulton. That was what Schaeffer said to Lonnie and Olson. Okay, number 14. Point out that Les Zerbe was at Pike's so he could say, "No, Bill, nobody ever agreed to anything like that, like the stuff you're talking about. That's all you, not us." Number 15. Is this Fulton's own description of how he tried to kill Les? That recording is from February 5th. Also, you should add in here the part where Fulton tells Olson to remember Schaeffer what will happen if he says no. It's in the same conversation. 16. I never saw Fulton or Bennett again until I saw them on the stand. You keep leaving out Bennett. Why? I was scared of both of them. Number 17. This is bullshit and makes one look stupid. I wasn't worried about China. I was worried about the chaos. Was that chaos? Hold on. Some of these words are still hard to read. Yeah, it's chaos, but it's spelled wrong. I was worried about the chaos and crime violence that thrives when the government is in the hands of a criminal regime. I didn't believe the U.S. had a limited lifespan. I only believed the corruption did. I believed it. I think we're going up over here now. I believed it would burn itself out, I think. Yeah, I believe it would burn itself out and things would get better naturally once the hard time was past. Please get it right. Number 18. You need to point out that Olson had a recorder. He said such and such and what's that? You need to point out that Olson had a recorder he could turn on and off himself. There you go. You need to point out that Olson had a recorder he could switch on and off himself. So he would turn it off, prime the conversation, then switch it on when we were responding to him. This was to cover the fact that he was the one coming up with all the crazy stuff. February 19th is full of switch on and offs. You can hear it on the recording. 19. The reason I was not going to show up for the misdemeanor trial on February 14th was because of Fulton's death threat ultimatum. I was leaving the country instead to escape Fulton. Don't you think that's an essential fact? 20. Right here you need to put Scrocky's email where he says he listened to the tapes and Cox is going to be like Gandhi, not Rambo, do peaceful protest, that it's obvious that Cox wants wiggle room. Why would Cox want wiggle room so bad? Because Fulton said he was going to kill Cox if Cox told him no again. Put it in the story. You have no reason not to. 21. Again, you missed the real story by not talking to me. If I told Bennett and Fulton the truth that I was leaving the country for good to avoid any sort of violence, they'd kill me. 22. You were wrong again. I didn't task Olson to get a trucker. The son of a bitch stole the battery out of our family car, told us Fulton was coming to town to kill me, and made himself and his trucker friend the only option besides death. 23. What does this run-on sentence fragment even mean? What does this run-on sentence fragment even mean? 24. Don't you think it's worth pointing out that Olson called Agent Sutherland, told him he didn't think he would go for the weapons, and asked what to do with them after we said no? Do you think it's worth playing the audios of me rejecting the weapons as soon as I got in Olson's truck, saying they were gay as in stupid? All right, let's see. I think that, hold on, is that it? That's it. And then the next page is right there. So that's the article that he's referring to, and I wanted to get that on YouTube. I've had a hard time getting this, and it's taken over a year. The reason it's taken him so long is because much of his letter was so faded out when he sent me a copy that I couldn't read it. And so I sent him a letter back and asked him to, you know, you see this, like this right here? You see this? This was so faded that I couldn't read it. And so what he did is he took a pencil and he wrote over it so I could read it. You see what I mean? All right, God bless. Take care. Don't forget, please pray for Schaeffer Cox. The last line of peaceful defense between a tyrannical government and the defendant is jury nullification. Educate yourself about jury nullification at feedja.org.